Good afternoon. Abhi, so what will you write here? बहुत सारे concerns हैं regarding AI.
So I made lies in the AI. Even if someone programs it.
No, ethical concerns. What are the ethical concerns? We are talking about specific problems. I'm first asking the broad concerns. Ethical concerns क्या? Human versus machines, है ना भाई? It's a bigger issue. Fine then. Have you seen the movie? You might not have, है ना? You're coming from some, I don't know, 5 generations backward timeline. You know? Only your age is little younger than me. Otherwise, you may be 4 or 5 generations. Huh? Okay, lack subjectivity. No, anybody has seen this movie? Ex Machina. Watch this movie. It's very interesting movie. It's about an AI. Right? Humans versus machines. ठीक है? Then?
Means versus end.
Correct. ठीक है. Means versus ends. What else?
You want to learn perspective.
Means and. No, that's the issue. Ethical decision making. Fine, but what is the? You're right, but it is not ethical decision. What is it? Machines will make decisions based on what? Universal versus contextual. Puja. Let's make it more simple. Fact versus values. Normative. Okay. See? Utilitarian versus virtue. Virtue, it wants to improve inherent goodness of people. Whereas utilitarian says we have to maximize the benefits for the people. Right? Machines will maximize the benefit. Right? So there are several concerns that may emerge. Right? Then one of the vital concern is the existence of human race itself. Will there be the survival of the human race or not? Because machines will, if you're developing intelligent machines, fine. Fine. CAG, there was a CAG conference last year. So annual conference of Controller Auditor General of India, Controller and Auditor General of India, which invites all the state level auditors also, right? So in Goa there was conference in which the CAG said, let us use more and more AI for audit. Now functions like audit or accounting, finance can be improved through AI. Can be improved, yes. Human errors can be pointed out, right? Human discretion can be reduced. So there are a lot of functions which can be improved, right? Budgeting can be improved. Okay, but problem क्या है? That we are not talking about simple technology, right? We are talking about अरे यही तो है, अभी इसी के लिए तो अवार्ड मिला नोबेल प्राइज, इसी के लिए नोबेल प्राइज मिला ना, अभी कल ही तो मिला for physics, right? Right? They have got a Nobel Prize for neural networks. Working on neural networks and AI. So why there is a concern about human race itself? Because we are not talking about normal machines. We are not talking about normal instruments, right? These are self-learning machines. Self-learning. Okay, that is known as predictive learning. Or they have NLP, natural language processing. That's machine language, but machine language, right? If it develops an ecosystem on its own, it will evolve, it will give self-commands, right? And it will act. So the problem, the biggest concern is, will the people or will the humans be able to control the intelligent machines which they are designing? So obviously they are designing machines which are more intelligent than them, then only they can improve their work. Otherwise, why do we need them? तो ह्यूमन एफर्ट, ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस को कंफर्ट सपोर्ट मिले तभी हम उसको बना रहे हैं, हमसे बेटर है तभी हम बना रहे हैं. So ultimately what will happen, right? This will create a problem for this. This phenomena is called gray goo. Right? In psychology, in scientific language, this is called the fear of gray goo. What is the fear of gray goo? The machines taking over the humans. So a time will come where machines will make humans their servants, right? Or their instruments. So ultimately this is a problem with this only, with the race itself. So you have ethical concern, right? Then, like, you can talk about simple things, machines replacing humans, right? Job, correct? Machine replacing human beings. Then, to increase the benefit of machine, right? We cannot exclude the human beings. Why we cannot exclude the human beings? Because ultimately, what is the purpose of using the machine? But simple and logical. Why we are using the machine? When we are doing it for the benefit of mankind, right? How can we undermine the humankind itself? जिसके लिए काम कर रहे हैं उसी को undermine कैसे कर सकते हैं? Right? Public interest, collective interest means what? It should be inclusive development, right? It cannot be just a mechanical or automated development of the society. तो एक सबसे बड़ा इशू है कि भाई ह्यूमन काइंड को सर्व करने के लिए मशीन है, बट ह्यूमन काइंड को ही रिप्लेस कर रही है. Then automation has its own consequences, like we said, dehumanizing the process. Right? AIs will take away the biological intelligence. Self-replicating machines, correct, Tushar? Like
that the person making the machine, his particular values will be, and his biases will be done.
Definitely, why not? हर प्रिंसिपल से इसको पढ़ा जा सकता है. You understand? That is what ethical principles are. You can say information, control over information, leakage of information, misuse of information. ऐसे बहुत सारे issues हैं, right? But let us imagine this way, that okay, fine. If the human or the biological intelligence that we have, right, cognitive ability that we have, what are we doing? We are replacing this biological intelligence or cognitive ability and giving it to the machines. So what will happen in future? We'll have dumb races, and it will be easy for the machines to control us. You understand? That's the biggest threat. It may seem to be a far-reaching or far consequence as of now, far-sighted consequence, right? But in reality, this is going to happen. Right? You can make out today itself. Right? Most of the people making reels, dancing. Right? Most of the people sharing content, like what? Like a robot, like a parrot. They are sharing content. No? Ultimately, लोगों को क्या समझ में आता? कुछ नहीं. Fine, but एक मिनट तक वो भी मुंह गर्दन जाता है, तुम भी लाते हो. हाँ, चलो चलो भी ऊपर चलो इसको. Hangman. Have you played Hangman on computer? Highly ignorant generation. Outdoor sports means what? At least you know about it, no? Even I don't play Hangman, right? But I know about it. There's no restriction on knowing. Fine. But let's say, so that is one biggest threat, that ultimately biological intelligence will be suppressed and machine intelligence will increase. That will control the human beings. Because when you will not be able to, you will not have the ability to deal with the threats of the machines, what will you do? You will accept the slavery of the machine. That's simple. You do factor. Right? Then obviously, machines, you can have biological warfares, you can have nuclear warfares, right? You have drones already being used. So AI controlled drones do not need human assistance. Right? Self-destructing drones. Now see, self-destructive destruct drones, what they can do, right? They can create a lot of havoc for humanity. So it can be used for strategic purposes, right? And it can also be used for destructive purposes. Right? So see, remotely controlled vehicles, remotely controlled bombs, remotely control this. Okay, this can be done very well with the help of AI. In fact, AI can predict human behavior. So AI क्या कर सकता है? Human behavior को predict कर सकता है. And obviously, it can have multiple options compared to us. Its options will be much more than what we would have. So obviously, it will make the best rational move. We cannot make it. So human behavior को predict करना, right, and then manipulate. But one thing is very vital, that machines do not have willpower. We have. Fine. So that life force that we have, they don't have it. अब वो इवॉल्विंग है, राइट? नेचुरल कैलामिटी, डिजास्टर्स, क्या क्या हमने सब झेला और सहा, then we have moved forward, whatever we went through, right, as a human race, and still we survive. That means what? There is something which is much more powerful than the intelligence, that is willpower. Now,
In the case of AI, also of willpower, but with the aspect of deep learning, all the experience that human has got, machine is already getting that experience and getting one much better than
but it cannot have soul, no? That's the problem.
survival to us than us. Survival pretty much us.
बिल्कुल है, but लेकिन उसका soul नहीं है. Soul is life force. It will have only a battery source or a power source. We have a life force. So, अगर बैटरी, अगर उसने खुद लर्न कर लिया कि भाई अब ऑक्सीजन और नाइट्रोजन और हाइड्रोजन से कैसे एनर्जी क्रिएट की जाए, तो बना लेगा. It will survive itself. Fine, but that will obviously take a lot of time. But you can understand that we have the life force, and that is why we are superior beings. So it cannot compete with the life force. That's very difficult. Fine, but that will बहुत एक broader perspective. But in reality, AI will have a lot of pros and a lot of cons. Ultimately, threat to the human survival is the biggest threat. Human intelligence is the biggest threat. Moral and ethical values is the biggest threat. Machines don't act. You can fit them with moral and ethical components, right? But they will not have that kind of judgment as humans have. Humans may have non-rational judgment, right? But they will have more sensitive judgments. Machines will not be able to do that. Fine. But through simulation and a lot of things we are doing it, but that's okay, right? You can say still will take a lot of time for AI to develop. But let's say maybe 100 years from now on, AI or humanoids and humans will be coexisting together. A lot of people in Western countries, right, they are looking for now AI companions and not for real companions. So they're already moving towards that phase now. So they are not virtual companions they want, AI-based companions they want, friends they want. They are not looking for normal friends. AI pets, AI girlfriend.
So mostly the AI models were developed, say that it should not be developed further.
No, see, but that is a different issue. But thing is, it is already there. Someone or somebody will develop it, no?
If it came,
you cannot stop
its,
but you cannot stop its evolution. Once it has been discovered or invented, now you cannot stop its evolution. Universities, colleges, they are running AI courses. How can you stop the evolution? Recently, Google hired one of the AI experts, right? Paying 23,000 crore for his company. A young engineer, scientist. He left Google, created his own startup, right? But he was such a brilliant engineer. Right? Google paid 23,000 crore for his startup so that that person can work for Google. So they know what is the quantum, what is the scale of this technology, right? The same people were talking about internet 20 years back. But internet is part of your life now, right? Same AI ke saath hoga. Kya problem? If you have AI powered driver, what's the problem? Right? A lot of people will lose the jobs as driver, and people will unlearn the skill called driving. If Tesla launches the unmanned, vehicles or driverless cars, what will happen? People will lose the skill called driving. Imagine all the cars are without drivers. Less chances of conflict. क्यों? क्योंकि सभी वैसे ही है ना. They all will work in an algorithm. Right now, the problem is when the humans and machine come in conflict. Now there are manual drivers or physical drivers, and there are bot drivers. Then there is a conflict. But when they all are bot drivers, see, they will be communicated very effectively, right? Less chances of accident, less chances of conflict. Road rage nahi hoga na bhai. That's all. So it's not like that. A lot of problems will be resolved, right? Measurement, quantification, precision, predictability, a lot of things can be resolved. Just like you are using that Apple Watch for all the vitals, monitoring all the vitals. What is the use of all that? If I wear such a watch, I become conscious every day. No, but he can learn. It can learn. You have to put the parameter. Intuitive knowledge नहीं है, but intuitive AI भी आ गया है. What is that?
It gives the sense of comfort that whatever is happening in body we know in this one instance.
What is the benefit?
A sense of security that I'm fine. Even if you are feeling unwell.
We are using it for some proactive measures, right? But they are basic statistics, no? If something great is happening, right, they might just be an indication. But the thing is that why we are doing it, we feel we can control the parameters. That is why we want to have that control. We feel that through the data, we control the events, but that is not true. We don't control the events, we only know the events. Control कर सकते तो पहले से कर रहे होते ना. Definitely. So they will be exploited. Fast and slow will be faster. Will control the slower. That's true. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? Even nature doesn't benefit everyone. Lakhs of aspirants do not qualify. When you don't qualify, do you think about them? When you qualify, do you think about them? You don't think about them. So that's how humans think. Machines will be more economic rational. What is wrong? See, it's not like that. That is why we have governments, no? How can you even think that AI will start doing governance itself? There are governments. Policies will be there. Coordination will be there at the global level and various levels. And they will...
There was this time when you will have it. It's slowly and steadily, everybody's having it. So certain machines, certain things which are necessary. That was usually really reflecting market which is like.
But that is only when the government policy changed. Lekin AI bhi ek mobile nahi hai na. That is also a problem. AI invades your life much at a bigger scale than a mobile phone. But AI will be used in agriculture, right? It will be used in road construction. It will be used in so many other things, sewage. It will be a manual scavenging. खत्म हो जाएगा AI आगे. क्या problem है? तो उसमें भी तो equality है. It also has an aspect of justice and fairness. No, that's okay. In every revolution, people will die. If you think that way, then you cannot be a decision maker. You don't have to think that way, right? You're driving on the road, you're killing the ants. Do you see them? But they are dead, no? They are having life. When you compare at a scale, why you are comparing the size? The elephant is important, ant is not important. It is illogical. Well, life is life. What is the basis of evaluation? That a bigger sized animal is more important than a smaller sized animal. Right? So, every revolution, every reform will have its price, and people will have to pay the price. If society has to go through a phase of inequality, it will have to go through a phase of inequality. In colonial administration, people fought for the freedom, but who are the people who fought for the freedom? Elites, right? They created the system for them to have power and govern. As simple as that. If they wanted to associate people in this process, they never wanted to associate people in the process. They could have created the governments in that format. Poorest, weakest, क्यों वो रिफॉर्म कर रहे हैं कि मैं नेहरू रिफॉर्म करेंगे तो पटेल रिफॉर्म करेंगे तो ये रिफॉर्म करेंगे क्यों भाई सीधा उनको पावर दो ना start with giving them power directly. If you do not need educational qualification for election, to contest election or to vote, right? Why do you need this qualification to appoint someone? Appoint them to the position of power. See, automatically they will also become elites. That is how the human society works. So in theory, it is good to say that we will not be having equitable distribution. Society will suffer. Every society suffers. When slums are cleaned, society suffers. That does not mean you will not eliminate the slums, right? You have to be a decision maker. When people have all, see, it is not something, it's not something survival. It is more than survival, right? A lot of people coming from distant rural areas and settling on the pavements. Was this pavement made for them? It was not made for them. Now you say, where should they go? They should go from where they have come. Why should they come here and stay? What is the purpose? Right? Let's say begging. They feel that there is a broader commercial avenue of begging here, right? So ultimately, they are coming with what? With their ambition. No? If you will give them employment, you'll give them benefit, they will not take it. Because they know that they're earning a lot of money in begging. Why will they need to work and earn money? They don't need to work and earn money. So 80% of them are commercial beggars. 20% maybe yes, people discarded from their families, facing certain kind of oppression. उनके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने शेल्टर्स बनाए हुए हैं, ओल्ड एज होम्स बनाए हुए हैं. वो गवर्नमेंट का रोल है, तुम्हारा थोड़ा ना. Why are you paying tax to the government? Why are you following the compliances of the government, right? So this is highly illogical rationality or principle that we say, we are not concerned about that. Why? When I park my vehicle on the road, I'm not concerned कि भाई ये road किसी ambulance के काम आ जाती. मैं तो नहीं concerned. So who should be concerned? Yes, if we are a civic society, civilized society, we'll be concerned, right? We'll try to act in a responsible manner. But then this will be coming only when there is a law enforcement agency. Now government takes the vehicles, illegal parking, right? One day, leaves the other day. How will people learn? They'll not learn. You understand this also? That the responsibility for every inclusion, ethical inclusion of everyone is not ours. It is nobody's. Right? So and ultimately, whenever systems will change, reform, things will happen, people will die, people will be sacrificed, right? But that does not mean that we don't go for any new reform. The fact is, obviously, this sacrifice of people is not to be done, not to be executed in an exploitative manner. That's the idea. People must be given opportunity, they must be given the necessary requirements must be served so that they can also evolve, right? But you cannot say everybody will have phone, only then we'll start having phone. No, that is illogical. So every reform takes a timeline. Right? So AIs or AI-based reforms, right? Don't get into a lot of discussion. So the AI is the future technology, right? It is going to stay. It is one of the most dominant technologies. And what is to be done? Obviously, it has to be somewhere balanced with human intelligence. If human intelligence has become subordinate to AI, then there will be a big problem, right? So as of now, what we need to do? We need to evolve ourselves with the AI. We need to have the potential safety valves dealing with AI. AI cannot be involved in every sphere of human activity. So there has to be some gold standard, there has to be some global consensus regarding what areas are there where AI or use of AI is beneficial and the areas where their use of AI is not. Now see, a lot of surgery is done by robots today, right? They have gone wrong. Who is to blame? Biggest concern to ye bhi hai na, when machines perform tasks, who will take the responsibility? So in US there was a case that in Japan, they were selling some robots, or they had developed a robot, prototype robot, humanoid, right? And one of the persons, or they gave this prototype to one of the clients they had, one company is there. So they asked the client, you can become our focus of case study. You want to conduct this case study, pilot case study, and would you agree, right? Do you accept to keep this robot or humanoid with you for a few days so that we can observe and we can collect data from that? So see, first 1 or 2 days that robot worked very well, right? Third day some command went wrong or something went wrong, right? He killed the person, the client, to whom the robot was given, right? Now neither the sales executive, nor the company, nor the scientist, nobody was taking responsibility for it. So if the machines act in a particular way, right, and they create consequences, if machine goes rogue and it is manipulated by the terrorist, what will you do? So see, so there are a lot of dilemmas, right? A lot of dilemmas when we are dealing with such kind of machines which are very advanced. So we can use NPA2 logic, right? New public administration is a model which talks about the less use of technology in democracy and public policy and public administration, primarily because technology, what it does, it sabotages the human creativity and innovation. Human feelings can be eliminated because of technology, right? So it gives you precise decisions, correct, right? But it may give you the correct decisions or it may give you the relevant decisions, not necessary. Fine, okay. So that you can write, move ahead now. So we were talking about third-party actors. Fine. Public service values की बात कर रहे थे. We had talked about reforms, and we had reached the point where we were talking about civil society. So what was the point number 3?
So we were rating the different perspective and last one was
On civil society? No, I'm talking about what is the civil society is the main heading. Right? Before that, what was the main heading? Under which we wrote civil society. What was the? We wrote 2 more. Structural or institutional reforms. Institutional reforms, right? 1, 2, 3. This was the third. Right. 3. So we had third party, community based, civil society, whatever reforms. So we were talking about how the civil society is viewed, or its role is viewed. So several scholars are there who have brought their own viewpoint regarding what has been the benefit, or let's say to an extent impact of civil society. Civil society or growth of civil society is beneficial for the democracy. Right? How it is beneficial? Jaldi quickly karo taki so that we move tomorrow to some examples, case studies of good civil servants and likewise. So we have to talk about them. Grassroots democracy, okay, inversion of power. But see, try to understand. That's correct. All these are non-state actors.
Concept of public trust is more enhanced.
Correct. Non-state actors, constructive, destructive. What do you call trade unions? Legal है, constructive है, होना चाहिए constructive, right? But they can be destructive also. But normally we believe that trade unions ठीक है, to the maximum what they can do. They can go for a band, hartal, strike, and all those things. Maximum. Why? Sorry. They are also non-state actor. Radical religious institutions, what will they do now?
Polarize the society.
Correct. See, why we say destructive? Okay, they might be more. Lot of ideological, क्या होगा इनको? Yes, fanaticism or correct fundamentalism. Right. Now they are also in the category of civil society. By theoretical definition, they are also civil society. Is in the formation of the or the structure of these bodies are civil society, right? But their functioning is not civil society. Civil society means civil. Okay. NGOs, but there are a lot of NGOs which are funded by. There are a lot of NGOs which are funded by terror money, or NGOs as the front for terror organization. But अब ये तो बहुत मुश्किल है भाई, how to distinguish between non-state actors, right, who are going to promote democracy, social development and benefit, and those who are not. So this is one big challenge in front of the governments.
Sir, as per our country, only 3 unions are considered to be kind of legal. Farmers, trade, and commercial. Others are not categorized as illegal.
तो ट्रांसपोर्ट यूनियन है, एग्रीकल्चरल यूनियंस है, कोऑपरेटिव्स है. सी व्हेन यू से यूनियन मींस यूनियन जो है एक पॉलिटिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, राइट? यूनियनिज्म इज अ काइंड ऑफ पॉलिटिकल एक्टिविटी. सो एवरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन which has workers and management, industrial organization, right, or commercial organization can form unions. बैंक का भी यूनियन है भाई, नहीं? बट जनरली हम बैंक को यूनियन कम बोलते हैं, एसोसिएशन बोलते हैं, क्योंकि यूनियन इज मोर अबाउट प्रेशर ग्रुप, लॉबिंग. एसोसिएशन इज अबाउट म्यूचुअल बेनिफिट. एसोसिएशन बना एक दूसरे का हेल्प करो, आगे बढ़ो, कलेक्टिव इंटरेस्ट के लिए काम करो, फाइन. सो यूनियन बनाना इज नॉट बैड, यूनियन इज गुड. It is a fundamental right that people have to associate and to work for their own growth and this, right? But the problem is that is the idea that most of these third-party actors or civil society organizations they are also used by these kind of organizations. Shell companies using NGOs, right? Global NGOs using native NGOs. अब कोई ग्रीन पीस फाउंडेशन है फॉर एग्जांपल, वो इंडियन एनजीओस को यूज करेगी. क्यों? Because they are hiring smaller NGOs from developing societies and promoting their political agenda or the political agenda of the corporates or the West in these societies. Global concern with the environment. See, if most of the developing countries become concerned about environment, what will they do? They will provide funds globally for environmental conservation. अब यूएन की UNFCCC या GEF ग्लोबल एनवायरमेंट फैसिलिटी या ग्लोबल एनवायरमेंट और सस्टेनेबल फंड जो है ग्रीन फंड, उसके लिए पैसा कहां से आएगा? तभी तो आएगा when you create panic within these developing societies. Same thing, it's like taking Chanda in the Ganpati forcibly from others, everyone. So, ये logic वहां का भी है, the Chanda is taken at a bigger level now. Processes are same, right? Same processes. Auto wala asking you 10 rupees more, right? Bureaucrat asking you 1000 more. That's the same process. Human behavior और psychology एक ही तरीके से काम कर रही है, कोई फर्क नहीं है. Scale of corruption बढ़ गया बस, right? The sophistication of corruption has improved, nothing else. Understand? So see, logically, right? You can say that lot of influences, corporate influences, yeah, multinational corporations or governments, Western countries and the multinational corporations, what are they doing? They are using these third-party systems, NGOs, community-based organizations, or for that matter, citizens' bodies, forums, and likewise, what they are doing it for? They are doing it for promoting their agenda. But some nahi, but फिर भी बहुत सारे. You'll find that they may give Nobel Prize to certain kinds of people. Mohammad Yunus कौन है भाई? Architect of Bangladesh revolt, right? But he's not an architect. He doesn't have that strength nor intelligence, right? He is basically the front used by the America. If you create destabilization in this region, Pakistan is already destabilized, Bangladesh becomes destabilized, Nepal is already having some controversy with India, right? Ultimately, what will happen?
So, but there was no any better option than what.
So that's okay. How did they decide better option? You start basically a recruitment protest and convert it into a mass movement. That requires funding. No, if students are sitting here, they require food and khana and whatever, right? If they stay over a month, who will pay their rent? तो वो रूम में रह नहीं रहे लेकिन उनको रेंट पे करना है, राइट? फीस नहीं दिया, कोचिंग से हटा देंगे उनको, कहां से आएगा? Without this, no movement, no revolution survives. Fine, unless it is the revolution made by blood, that's a different revolution. तो बिना फंडिंग के कैसे मूवमेंट सर्वाइव करेगा? तो फाइन, देयर इज अनदर एंगल टू इट भाई. Bangladesh, Dhaka was becoming the center of the global fabric industry, textile industry. India was losing. So some people will say India also promoted the idea. What to do? Yes, why not? But we were losing on trade, we were losing on global. That's fine. But see, manufacturing उनकी, procurement उनका, global textile का जो trade है वो उनके पास. Oh, that's okay. You try to understand, right? वो जो पैसा वहाँ कमा रहे हैं वो कहाँ जा रहा है? Where is that money going? So India needed a particular kind of prime minister, that money should not fund the terror. That's the best strategy. Sun Tzu, Kautilya, right? If you have to control, if you have to eliminate your enemy, control or cut off the finances of the enemy. ये Kautilya की strategy है. How to win war? Sun Tzu. How to win war? Cut the financial support of your enemy. And that's very logical. So let us not get into all that. But international affairs के भी अपने ethical concerns हैं. But let us say, so they are being used as the front by this. So biggest concern is that whether these third-party actors, right, they are actually working for public interest or they are working for the interest of those who are funding them. पहला issue है, right? आगे लिखिए. The civil society or CSO, civil society organizations have a prominent contribution to promoting engaging democracy. Underline this word, engaging democracy. And constructive citizen participation. NGOs like, few things you can write. NGOs like MKSS, Majdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, MKSS, comma, BBA, Bachpan Bachao Andolan, got Nobel Prize for that, right? So, comma, Seva, Self-Employed Women's Association, Ila Bhatt, promoted by her, or Navdanya, NAVDANYA, Navdanya. There are a lot of them, and Navdanya is very popular for what? Navdanya, comma, Parivartan, Kejriwal's NGO. It was doing extraordinary work as an NGO. But he very early realized the use of RTI and how to use RTI to control or arm twist the government. Usko samajh mein aa gaya. Fine. So he was a very smart bureaucrat. Being in the income tax, he saw everything. He understood every logic. There are people who are very keen observers. So he understood everything. So coming from Haryana and then studying in Kharagpur, then working in income tax, he had seen all this. Politics of Bengal, ज़्यादा politics कहाँ होती है? But Bengalis are natural politicians. That's true. Because they have a culture of debate, they have a culture of discussion. That is why they are one of the most intellectual people. Northeast regions, certain people in areas in Northeast, and Bengalis. One of the most intellectual people here in this country. People from Kerala are more argumentative. Bengalis are argumentative, but they are intellectual also. Why? Because Kerala, Bengal, they are mostly dominated by communism. Northeast के भी कुछ regions है communism. Communism gives you a food for thought. बाकी जो मॉडल्स हैं वो क्या करते हैं आपको सर्वाइवल और कंफर्ट के बीच में रखते हैं. So communism, yeah, left ideology. You don't have to be ultra leftist. You don't have to be an Naxal for that. That's a drawback. No, government does not. Most of the governments don't understand how a left or a liberal left, right, or center left person will become ultra left. Now it is concerned with that. But the reality कि अगर वो है तो ऐसे corrupt governments की जरूरत ही नहीं. So it is quite obvious that by these areas, certain areas, they had a natural tendency of having political orientation. UP, you're a politician by birth, right? Bihar, survivalist, right from the beginning. Only two classes exist: extreme rich, extreme poor. Bengal भी ऐसी था. Rich, extremely rich landlords, and other the inhuman practices of what is it called? Hath rickshaw, you understand? See? So they were pulling the cart, pulling the rickshaw. It was still since even after independence, right? Almost 25 years since independence, it was there. Then the government took labor reforms, labor laws आए, फिर नए वो आए, exploitation laws against exploitation आए, तो फिर वो रुका. So you can imagine what kind of society it would have been. So anyway, right, that leave it. So Parivartan जो है वो NGO, it was doing extraordinary work in RTI. Navdanya is an NGO supported by Vandana Shiva. Vandana Shiva is one of the symbols, one of the global, you can say, ambassadors of ecofeminism. Right? What is ecofeminism? ये भी feminist perspective भी ethics का, right? Eco. In environmental activities. In environmental activities means what? Sustaining the environment, protecting the environment, conserving the environment, right? Through the dominant values of feminism. female orientation in conservation.
So what is particularly happening? It is,
There are a lot of ideas related to feminism. Relation between humans and environment, but see, it's mostly the nurture nature of female. Right? Correct. When feminism is not about equality, right? You cannot be equal to your adversary. It is illogical. No? मुझे जिसने एक्सप्लॉइट किया मैं उसके बराबर कैसे होऊंगा? उसके बराबर में होना चाहूंगा, उसकी तरह होना चाहूंगा. So that's not logic of feminism. It may have started as a movement of equality, but then it moved into something the domain of distinctiveness. That women have a distinct sphere, and that distinct sphere must be respected, protected, respected, whatever. Males have a distinct sphere; it should be respected. Then there is a common sphere, right? Obviously, women, why they want to be like men? Why they want to be like men? That's something illogical. What you are criticizing, you want to be like that. तो ये एट्रीब्यूट ये फेमिनिज्म नहीं. बट फेमिनिज्म के बहुत सारे डायमेंशंस हैं. मार्क्सिस्ट फेमिनिस्ट, लिबरल फेमिनिस्ट, राइट, अल्ट्रा लिबरल फेमिनिस्ट. अब उसमें बहुत सारे इवॉल्व्ड आइडियाज हैं, है ना, पोस्ट मॉडर्न फेमिनिज्म. सो यू विल हैव टू मूव बियॉन्ड इंडिया टू अंडरस्टैंड देम. Right? That is why in the Western countries you will find that they have children without marriages because they feel that is their reproductive right. But for that, they don't need to have a husband throughout their life. Ultra liberal feminism. So, like, I have exercised my right to give birth to a child, and I've done it. Fine. And for that matter, I don't need to carry a husband throughout my life. Obviously, society में social यहाँ के level से हम you are sitting somewhere here, standing, right? Now you're looking at an ideology which is there. You can never understand that. So these are different type of ideas. So human intellectual evolution is going on, right? So Vandana Shiva is very popular. Why she is very popular? Because she somewhere promoted the interest of the farmers, right? Especially promoted organic farming in India and protected them from unnecessary, encroachment of the multinational corporations in agriculture. She is one of the important voices against Monsanto Mohaico, the American company, right? The multinational corporation which was producing something called the BT seeds, right? With terminator genes. It's a combination, it's a conglomerate, no? Monsanto Mohaico. I think there are two brands who are. So whatever, right? See, so they started with, or she started with this, promoted the farmers' rights in India, right? Protection of Plant Varieties Act, Protection of Plant Varieties and Indigenous Seeds Act, 2001, which protects the farmer's right to have control over his seed. It was fundamental law. Fine, which goes in long way in promoting agricultural rights or farmers' rights in terms of agriculture. Right? But तुम्हें तो सिर्फ स्कीम लिखना एग्जाम में. सरकार ने ये इंश्योरेंस स्कीम लॉन्च किया है, एग्रीकल्चर ये स्कीम लॉन्च किया है. See, without adequate legal framework, what is the use of the scheme? And when the scheme is launched, it's not implemented; it's launched. Understand? That's the problem. That is why when we say the scheme is being launched from next year, but it is being announced this year. So 1 year, what government is doing? Just manipulating the people into believing there is a scheme. So government से बड़ा fraud तो कोई नहीं है. Government promises must be brought under Consumer Protection Act. As simple as that. Government क्या है? Service provider. Right? When you say no, people, I know once in GS Paper we were there, so I think there was one daughter, one female student. Her father was something, I don't know what. So she said, "नहीं मेरा ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, whatever." So related to general studies, so there were obviously a lot of content taught, but yes, कुछ portions हमेशा रह जाते हैं. It is always, but notes, content, everything was given. So she said कि मैं consumer course. Then I told my colleague, I told him, let her file the case. Why? I said, see, if you want to discuss, negotiate something logically, do it. Talk to the teacher. System is there for you. Finalize it. But if you feel, she was highlighting कि such and such teacher, there was some teacher, right, whose delivery I did not like. So it is quite obvious. We promised the content. We did not promise the delivery. You know? That's very true. Right? If you have to know the delivery, everybody's lectures are there, demo lectures, go and watch. That's what democratizing is, no? हमने तो अपने 6 लेक्चर्स डाले, मैंने बोला कि भाई ठीक है, बहुत चीजों पे लेक्चर जाके जिससे चाहे कंपेयर कर लो, जिससे चाहो, anyone. That is up to you. That's transparency. That's why it's not one lecture or one topic which people selectively cut and then put किया, सर देखो कितना अच्छा पढ़ा रहे हैं, right? We have put 2.5 hours, right? More than 20-30 lectures on the YouTube, 2.5 घंटे, 3 घंटे के lectures हैं, पढ़ लो, तो पता कैसे चलेगा? ऐसे ही चलेगा भाई, और कैसे पता चल सकता है? What else is the method, right? You cannot study the entire batch and then you can say नहीं मुझे delivery नहीं पसंद. That cannot happen. So government 5 years govern करती है, तुम बोलते बेकार government थी. 5 years. 5-6 महीने के कोर्स में तुम्हें क्वालिटी गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड चाहिए, right? चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए? Look from my perspective. You may be viewing it from students' perspective, right? But I was also a student. I never questioned any teacher, you know. I have visited a lot of pathetic teachers also. I have studied from a lot of extraordinary teachers also. I never criticized the teacher. Why? What I had to take from him, I took it. What I felt was not needed, I did not take it. As simple as that. A teacher criticizes the teacher, acceptable. A student should not criticize the teacher. So if we are criticizing, we are doing it on a comparative scale of quality and evaluation. We have a comparative standard, we can do that. But you don't have. Bilkul. You may agree, you may like, you may dislike. That's okay, fine. You're free to go. आपको नहीं अच्छा लगा, चल जाओ, बहुत अच्छी बात है. I also discard मत करो. That's why I tell every student, if somebody has taught you for half an hour also good, that's a contribution he has made. You never know when will that half an hour come to your rescue somewhere in your life. Fine, and that's true. So see, it's not. We had a teacher, one of the worst teachers of physics in my life. Though he was a very good teacher, he didn't teach properly in school, so that students can join his coaching. I never joined, obviously. But I used to study on my own, so I used to get very good marks. But he never criticized me. He said no. Even though जो weak students थे, वो उनको बोलता था पढ़ लो मेरे से. But वो कभी भी तेज बच्चों को कभी नहीं बोलता था कि see or this is nice. He used to appreciate. He said whatever references you are making, keep doing it. They are good references. See, he never. So ऐसा नहीं कि भाई आप बोलो कि टीचर अच्छा बुरा, आप पहले अपने को भी तो देखो. What are you? I'll tell you very honestly, there was a student, his sister was working in Jammu in some state civil services. There are a lot of students, my students were PCS in Jammu. In last batch, there was already a PCS. Treasury officer था, Jammu में posted था. पुराना student, और भी PCS, DSP है, बहुत सारे. So they would have referred his sister, you go to that sir. So he came, right? That boy could not speak proper 2 lines English. He could not write properly. So I put my effort, I started. He said, sir, I'm not able to connect anything. I said, it's okay. We still give you 1 week. You just, after 20 days, he tells me, sir, I'm not able to connect with Pamad. So I told him, you take some more time, think about it. So I told him, kindly write me an application. Because I said, this is illogical. See, I have invested in your app. I have taken your name from the app. We have taken this entire system for 2 years. Content diya jayega. Right? Jo bhi, whatever. It doesn't matter. I gave him the money. We returned the money. But I asked him to write an application. Can you imagine 1 paragraph application, right? 20 mistakes. Grammatical mistake, no pronouns, right? Where is are, has, had, have, kuch nahi pata usko. Obviously, as a student, usko disconnect lage hi lagega. Pure UPSC ki preparation se usko disconnect lagega. The moment, imagine such a student studies ethics or he studies philosophical essays, what will he do? See, that's also a problem. So कोई भी system, right, fool proof नहीं हो सकता, impossible. But what matters? The intent of the system, the effort of the system, and consequently, to what extent, right, you have been able to maximize your benefit from the system. That's it. So अगर किसी दिन सूरज नहीं चमका, तुम उसको भी क्वेश्चन करने लगोगे, भाई कहाँ गए आज नहीं आए? Right, that is the mentality. So as citizens, we need to put government into the consumer forum. Right? We should. Why not? You see, there were NGOs, there were civil society organizations who have done extraordinary work. RTI लाना हो, RTI implement करना हो, farmers' rights protect करने हो, right? Protection from global corporates, protection from something called neo-colonization. What is neo-colonization? Correct. Neo-colonization or neo-imperialism. The corporates trying to control the developing societies, right? Using certain things. Trade, commerce, technology, human resource, anything. Environment. They can use any front. Ultimate purpose is to control the developing society. Trade, commerce, clientele, consumer base, सब control कर रहे हैं. So it is quite obvious, right, that most of these NGOs have done extraordinary contribution. Now the other aspect comes back. Most of these NGOs have to create their own resources. And government also sponsors many of these NGOs. They are called GONGO, Government NGO. जैसे नवज्योति फाउंडेशन है या जीवन ज्योति फाउंडेशन है नहीं, which works in Tihar, right? So anti-drug campaigns है. So there were a lot of financial support, right, or what you can say the infra support given by the government to the NGOs. Eighth plan. When would have been the eighth plan? LPG reforms. कुछ चीज ऐसे याद होनी चाहिए. 10 साल पहले पढ़ा था मैंने, 15 साल पहले शायद. Train your brain to remember things which are important. Eighth plan, LPG reform. Planning Commission promotes the importance of NGOs. One of the first famous programs developed in that era with the help of NGOs. More than 150 NGOs were involved by the Planning Commission. This is a good example कि भाई civil society ने constructive role play किया, government ने promote किया the role of civil society. Use of self-help groups. We have just referred to that idea. How SSG, NABARD, and RRB and government were working towards inclusive development for women. So eighth plan, one of the first programs developed was Food for Work program, which ultimately got converted to NREGA. NREGA दो Brazilian model पे लिया गया. What is the model Brazilian program? Food for Work, FWP. Food for Work program, one of the first program developed by Planning Commission with the help of NGO. Right. So Brazilian program जो है generally that is cited as the basis of the NREGA or conditional cash transfer or direct benefit transfer scheme. What is the program? Brazilian program. Brazil का कौन सा program है which has been borrowed? Bolsa Familia. Direct benefit transfer. So schemes like DBT, right, or basically women inclusion, Bolsa Familia, then NREGA जैसे. तो इसमें आजीविका भी मान लो, आजीविका was, though it was a unique program of India, but we somewhere got inspired by it. Then you had Zero Hunger program or so a lot of civil society has drastic contribution. Anti-corruption movement, prohibition movement, right? So justice movement, sustainable development movement. Civil society has contributed in every sphere. So anti-terrorist movement हो जम्मू कश्मीर में, right? या और areas में, right? Northeast में, women participation and civil society has been at the forefront. But the problem comes that why civil society becomes a problem, a threat. So secondly, RC has also highlighted that why civil societies are having or they are becoming a threat perception for the governments. So Q, and why most of the civil society movement has emerged in the developing societies. Why we don't see, there are a lot of global civil society movements in first world countries also, right? But not the kind of proliferation that happened in third world countries. Q. We kindly keep writing some headings Why is CSO movement in developing societies? These are the key points you can use, right? Ethics is not about rectification. रट के क्या ही लिखोगे ethics में? यही लिख सकते हो ethics comes from the root word ethikos, which means habit, right? Morality comes from the root word morals or mores, right? Which also somewhere means habit, custom, tradition. यही तो लिख सकते हो और क्या लिखोगे? Anything which comes applied, that's your discussion. That's your understanding. So why civil society in developing societies? No, I don't want your answer. Right? Answer चाहिए नहीं, मैं answer दे रहा हूँ. लिखो. One of the prime reasons, conditional aid programs. Conditional aid programs ये सबसे prime reason है. तुम सोचते इतना, उससे पहले मैंने उसको simplify कर दिया तुम्हारे लिए. Conditional aid programs, which created what? That created donor-recipient relationship. तुम कृष्ण, मैं सुदामा, right? तो कृष्ण बन गए वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज, सुदामा बन गए डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. अभी donor-recipient relation. This is the primary reason. Next point, right? Lot of funding channelized through these, okay, the financial institutions of the West, right? MNCs or corporates, financial institutions of the West or developed countries, then MNCs or corporates, comma, philanthropic trusts, and individuals. Why was that now? Third point. क्यों हुआ ऐसा? Why they were interested? See, conditional cash transfer, conditional aid program, it provided certain restrictions for availing the aid, financial aid from these countries. ठीक है? अब इसे US aid है. US aid क्या करता है भाई? That's a government to government platform. ये सब sovereign platforms है जहां government to government fund financial transfers किए जाते हैं. One government helps the other government, right? Or they can help through intermediaries like the global financial institutions. So World Bank helping the developing countries, UNDP helping the developing countries, right? Or IMF helping the developing countries. So they come with what? They come with conditions, right? अब इनके through obviously क्या है? See, lot of money from these countries starting entering into these societies. Why? So one of the primary motive was how to politically and economically influence these societies. And obviously they needed, because of the closed economy, because of the policy control in these countries, they needed native NGOs, they needed native organizations to work for them. So itni poverty thi. Next point, go ahead. Existence of poverty, hunger, underdevelopment, a lot of factors. Poverty, hunger, malnutrition, underdevelopment, etc. And lack of funds with the governments. Created this as an important opportunity for financial investments. For financial investments, or provided an important opportunity for financial investments or access to financial resources. तो इन गवर्नमेंट्स को फायदा होने लगा, पैसा आने लगा, right? Native NGOs develop हो गए. So we started proliferation of something called the social development as business. लिखो. This created social sector or social service as a business model, as a commercial activity, actually. That's the ethical issue. That's the ethical issue with begging. If you're begging for survival, good, but you're begging for or being a part of a commercial industry, not acceptable. So see, social service from philanthropic activity, from voluntary activity has emerged into, अब ये खुद अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन है एथिक्स के पेपर में कि how voluntary sector or voluntary philanthropic activity has turned into a profitable or commercial business. नहीं, तो philanthropy के भी तो ethical evaluations होंगे. philanthropy बोलने से philanthropy थोड़ी ना होगी. Opening a philanthropy institution does not guarantee philanthropy. Right? So once social service, public interest, or let's say development and welfare in these countries becomes a business, what happens? A lot of stakeholders emerge now. So 80s you will find, or 80s to 90s, or 80s to 2000, you'll find proliferation of a lot of NGOs, small civil societies, native, organizations, community organizations emerging in these countries. In fact, people say that कि जो ग्रामीण बैंक मूवमेंट है वो भी एक मूवमेंट था जो ट्रिगर था, स्पॉन्सर्ड था. Because somewhere there was a need to mobilize the mass. So good thing happened, right? Masses were mobilized. How they were mobilized? You started creating a lot of what you can say economic benefit systems through banking system, right? Through financial organizations, through regional rural banks, through agricultural society, through cooperative society. आपने क्या किया? You started channelizing the funds or started associating with these bodies at different levels. A World Bank बोलता है हमने एक development program launch किया. FAO बोलता है Food and Agriculture Organization. Where is the headquarter? Rome, correct. ILO? Okay, fine. FAO is Rome, correct. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ो. Right. So it is obvious that, see how this money started getting channelized to lowest levels. Government's developmental activities expanded, government needed funds for that, and it's somewhere accepted that if there are third-party actors involved in funding so many things, it's okay. What is wrong with that? Control कर लेंगे. तो initially government की policy कैसी थी? Liberal थी. NGO बनाओ, society बनाओ, trust बनाओ, चलाओ. We are not going to control you. In fact, we will give you the concessions and subsidies related to that. Tax concessions देंगे, exemptions देंगे, promote करो. Compliances minimum. See? Income tax वालों को specific instruction कि भाई don't go after them. That is how many of these countries started promoting, right? Something called the development as business.
Unlock your ethical edge with ProdEgyIAS. Join our Ethics Foundation program under the expert guidance of Ashutosh Pandey starting 4th August 2025. Master concepts, build perspectives, and excel in your UPSC journey. Enroll now at ProdEgyIAS, where success begins.